Hello, I'm Scott Brown of Scott Brown and Associates. I'm board certified in divorce and family law. Today, I'm going to be answering 5 questions about how property is divided in a divorce. Question number 1, what property will I get to keep once the divorce is over? You will get to keep a fair share of your marital property, also known as community property here in Texas. Community property is property that you and your spouse accumulated during your marriage. It may include your home, vehicles, investments, personal property, and retirement accounts. Community property is usually divided equally between the spouses, but the legal standard is a just and right division. The court can take into consideration certain factors to award an unequal division of the property. For example, the health and age of the spouses, the earning capacity of the spouses, the education level attained by the spouses, and if there were any fault grounds for the divorce, such as adultery. You will also keep all of your separate property, provided that it has not been so mixed and commingled with community property that it can no longer be identified or traced back to its separate property nature. Separate property is property you acquired before marriage, property you received during marriage as a gift, or property you received through inheritance. Earnings from separate property that accumulate during the marriage, such as interest or dividends or rental income from a separate property house, are community property that is subject to division. Question number 2, what happens to the family home in a divorce? If one spouse wants the home and can afford it, the equity in the home is credited to that person's share of the community property. The spouse taking the home must provide the other spouse with equivalent assets or cash in compensation for his or her share of the equity. The equity can be determined by having the home appraised and then deducting any outstanding mortgages. If you or your spouse cannot agree on who keeps the home, or neither of you can afford it or want it, the usual alternative is to sell the home and split the proceeds. If you think you want to keep the family home, ask yourself these questions. Can you afford to buy out your spouse's interest? Can you afford to pay the mortgage, taxes, and upkeep on your post-divorce budget? Is suitable alternative housing available for you at an affordable price? Sometimes neither party can afford the home, and the only realistic solution is to sell it. Question number 3, am I entitled to a share of my spouse's retirement account if we divorce? All property accumulated during your marriage, including your spouse's retirement plan, is subject to division. You will be entitled to a fair share, usually half, of the amount accrued in your spouse's retirement account from the time you married until you divorce. Your spouse could buy out your share of the plan by giving you other marital assets. Otherwise, the plan benefits are divided. A court order, known as a Qualified Domestic Relations Order, or QDRO for short, may need to be sent to the plan administrator to complete the division. Retaining an interest in your spouse's retirement plan may be important if you are unlikely to secure sufficient retirement benefits otherwise. Alternatively, you may prefer a buyout if you expect to have adequate retirement benefits from your employment. Number 4, what can I do to prevent my spouse from taking our possessions and draining our accounts before I file for divorce? You'll want to document what you own so that if your spouse does take or destroy property, you will have proof that the property existed. Take photos, create an inventory, copy title and financial documents. The court could award you a greater share of the community property to compensate you for these missing assets. When you file for divorce, you can also ask the court for orders prohibiting this behavior, usually what's called a mutual temporary restraining order. The spouse who violates these orders can be punished by the court. Question number 5, what if my spouse wasted a lot of our assets during our marriage? Sometimes one spouse spends marital assets excessively for selfish reasons. These examples include spending substantial sums on an extramarital affair, or spending lavishly on drugs, alcohol, partying, or gambling. If you do not condone or benefit from the excessive spending, the court may award more of the remaining community property to you to make up for the wasted funds. Please give us a call if you'd like to schedule a consultation here at Scott Brown and Associates.